Hey y'all, and welcome back to my channel. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make this extra large Lovey in a matching bib. Back when I made blankets and matching accessories, this was my biggest seller. I made so many of these, it's not even funny. And I called them Snuggle Buddies. It is, as I say, an extra large Lovey because the intended use for it is to give this or gift it to a small baby or a newborn and them kind of just grow with it and it be small enough to tag along. It gives them the security of being able to snuggle it and carry it around with them, but not too large that it drags the floor, and mom and dad always have to take this gigantic blanket with them everywhere. It also is an absolute perfect car blanket for car seats or a lap blanket as they get bigger and older, and also great for bassinets. Just such an awesome gift to be such a simple design. I have a 3/4 of a yard piece of fabric. This is 100% cotton, and because we are putting a polyester backing on it, I did pre-wash this and then I ironed it out before I began cutting. We're going to cut this to a 24-inch square. And when I have a fabric that the pattern needs to be kind of squared off, what I do first is cut off that little strip of information that's typically on the side of fabrics. And then we're going to place that on the edge of our mat and allow that to be our guide on getting everything nice and straight. We're using a polyester fabric for the backing. Most will see it labeled as Minky in stores, and you can get it in a solid, and there's also really awesome patterns that you can get this in as well. Or you can get some really fluffy like rosette patterns and stuff. I will tell you, the more that you have going on your polyester fabric, the more difficult it is going to be to get everything straight. There are definitely more polyester patterns that are smooth available in the stores that weren't available to me years ago when I made these blankets. Hobby Lobby actually has a beautiful honeycomb, which you saw at the beginning, and I will show it to you again at the end in my other completed set. But I do encourage you, if you are a beginner, make sure you grab either a smooth polyester or Minky, or the dot pattern is also a good one to use. It just does have those lumps and bumps in it, so sometimes it does get a little difficult to get it ironed out flat. And then you can work your way up to like the rosette or the fluffier fabrics that might be a little bit more difficult to work with. So I took our Minky fabric, placed it nice and flat on my cutting board, face up, so with the soft facing up towards the ceiling, and then I took our 24-inch cotton square and placed that face down on top of our Minky. I very lightly ran my iron over top of the cotton fabric just so it kind of grips a hold of the polyester and doesn't move around while I try to cut it. So I will also get a nice 24-inch square cut on the polyester. Once I have cut all of that excess off, I'm going to put that to the side, because if you do get a 3/4 yard cut, your cotton fabric will very likely be 36 inches long, by the 3/4 inch that you had cut. And then the polyester fabric actually comes in 60-inch long bolts. So it will be 3/4 of a yard by 60 inches, and you will be able to get 2 of these blankets out of that cut. So the first thing that I do after I've cut off all that excess is go around to each corner and place a pin facing out. This will help keep my corners in place. And then I go around starting in the center, working my way to those edges, so it keeps everything nice and flat and I don't have too much movement in my fabric. If you want to make a larger blanket for an infant or child, I even have sizes for adults. I will have all of that information down below, as well as the link to the tutorial on how to make those larger blankets. It's pretty much the same, you're just working with a whole lot more fabric, a larger surface area, and a little bit more patience. Now that we have our snuggle buddy all pinned together, we're going to fold that up, put it to the side, and we're going to cut out the matching bib. Remember, we're facing our polyester face up and our cotton fabric face down. We're going to cut both of these at the same time because I am using a stencil. I did not get this pattern from anywhere online. I started making these when my daughter was very young, so I grabbed one of her bibs and I used some trace paper from Hobby Lobby to trace the outline of the bib that she was using at that time and got myself a perfect stencil. Once I had everything lined up the way that I wanted, I just cut a rectangle around the outer edges of our stencil. I'm going to iron this down as I did the snuggle buddy, and then we're going to place that stencil on top and just draw an outline for the guide of where we are going to put our stitches. Once I have my outline, I'm going to go in and pin the inside of the bib. Now for these, you probably want to place a little more pins in there than I did, especially around all the curves. You will have to twist and turn this on your machine, and you want all of your fabric to stay in place so it doesn't get distorted as you're moving it around. I did get a new machine since the last time I did a tutorial, and I absolutely love this sewing machine. I will have it linked down below for y'all. So for our bib, we're going to go directly over that line and just stitch, leaving about a 3-inch gap between your start and stopping point. Once we're finished with our bib, we're going to move right on to our snuggle buddy. You do also want to leave a gap on this one, except my kind of rule of thumb is to leave a 4-finger width gap in between your start and stopping point. You want to have plenty of room to turn it right side out without stretching your fabric. I'm leaving about 1/4 to 1/2 an inch overhang on the sides and squaring off all of my corners. Once you have finished sewing, you want to take out all of your pins, trim your corners, and then trim off the edges, with exception of your spot where you left a gap, because we do have to flip this right side out. And where we have our gap, we're going to sew that closer to the edge before we put the border on the blanket. If you have a lot of excess on your edges or on the outer edge of your stitching, you can trim that off. Just make sure that you leave extra in our spot where we're going to turn this right side out, because we are going to have to stitch that shut and you don't want to cut your fabric too short in that area. To flip this right side out, just place your hand in that gap, grab one of the corners, and very gently flip your blanket right side out. Make sure you do pay attention to those corners and pop them to a point. We're going to do this with our blanket and our bib as well. And then I don't show it in this tutorial, but you do want to run your iron back over them, focusing a lot on those edges so you get them nice and crisp and nothing moves around while you are sewing your border. Again, I do not show it, but I do run my iron back over these two so that we can get those nice and crisp edges before we put our border on. The first thing we're going to do on our blanket is sew our opening shut. For that, I'm only going to do about 1/4 inch from the edge of my blanket. Just sew about 4 to 5 inches to close that up completely, and then we're going to do about 3/4 of an inch to an inch on our border. Once you finish that, just trim off all of that extra thread and your blanket is done. Now, since our border is so close to the edge on our bib, we're actually going to sew the border as well as close that opening at the same time. I normally just use that opening as my starting point and then work my way very carefully all the way around the bib and trying to keep the same distance from the edge all the way around. Once we finish the border on the bib, I'm going to trim off that excess string and then we're going to apply our snaps. You can get a really awesome kit that has colorful snaps from Amazon. I'll have that link down below for y'all. That also comes with the snap pliers. Make sure you give this a good grip so your snaps do not come off whenever it is used, and you are done. Here is that beautiful honeycomb polyester fabric that I was telling you about earlier. I absolutely love that they are coming out with these beautiful patterns in it, and they're still nice and flat, so they're easy to sew and create these little blankets and accessories. I do have a Mommy and Me matching set coming up where I am going to use fabric to create a tumbler in addition to a keychain wristlet and a matching passy clip. Lots and lots of fun things. So if you have any questions, just drop them in the comments below and I'll answer them as quickly as possible. All materials I have used will be linked down in the description. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Hit the bell in the corner to be notified anytime a new tutorial drops. That's all for today. Thank you all so much and we'll see you next time.